Welcome to Chronicles of Old Singapore. This is Dr Loh KS, and I speak to people about their memories of Singapore before it became a global city. Do like the video and subscribe for future episodes. This will help the channel a lot. Very happy to introduce my guest today, whom I wanted to talk to for a while. And I have not talked to you for 17 years, I think.
Yes,
The
first
last,
time, yeah.
the first and last time I talked to you. So welcome, Gerard Ee. How are you?
Thank you, Kasing.
Can you believe it's been 17 years?
I actually cannot, but yeah, if you say so.
It was
Yeah,
in 2006 or 7.
yeah,
Mm.
okay.
Just to give some context, right? The research that I did at the time when I was talking to Gerard was on the Bukit Ho Swee fire.
Hmm.
And I can't exactly remember, but I found that there was a community service project in Bukit Ho Swee right after the fire. I think 7 or 8 years after the fire at the end of the 1960s. And I tried to get in touch with the founders of that project. And I don't know who I saw first. One of the first people I saw was Sabine, Sister Sabine, right? And
Right,
then
right.
I
So
met you
something.
as well. Yeah. And then I met some of the staff also at what was then, I think, already Beyond, right? Beyond Social
That's
Services.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that research, right, was very important for my book because it showed what Bukit Ho Swee became after the fire,
Mhm.
and in a sense, the changes that happened to the people who used to live in the kampong, but also some continuity from the kampong days, which I think we're going to talk about in this podcast. I think 2 years ago, one of my first guests on the show was actually Anne Lim, who I also interviewed in the podcast. I found her from the book that she wrote on the street children of Bukit Ho Swee. Do you still remember that book?
Yes, yes, I do. Of course,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
face to face. Yeah.
Yeah, I think both of you were around the same time, right? Although she left soon after. This podcast is going to center around a few things, right? One is to look at Bukit Ho Swee locally and what it was like for you when you were there in social work in, I think, the early 1980s, and then subsequently you
Yeah, it
became,
was
yeah, yeah,
early 80s. Yeah.
yeah, subsequently you became the executive director of the Bukit Ho Swee Community Service Project, and subsequently the Beyond Social Services. But I also want to take the opportunity to talk to you about social work in Singapore itself and how social work has changed over the years. Yeah, I mean, you have been very much at the forefront of this change. I think I mentioned to you on WhatsApp that when I recently wrote my book on the pandemics in Singapore history, right? Your organization's reports on the low income families during the pandemic was very, very useful. So I really like that research. It gives us an underside of the Singapore society that becomes very clear during the situation of a pandemic. So that's my introduction, and I want to kind of start by asking Gerard. Right? Do you remember telling me you can take the boy out of the kampong, but not the kampong out of the boy when we first met?
Yeah, I think it was a very different time 17 years ago. I was
Mm.
dealing very much with young people and maybe running programs that were supposedly to try and integrate them into society. And so back then, I think the framing was if you're not in school, you're in a gang, or you're in
Mm.
trouble, then you'll probably be in a lot of trouble.
Mm.
And the work was positioned as trying to get them out of gangs or trying to get them out of whatever trouble they were involved in.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess that command was also a lot out of frustration, the lack of success in the work. But
Mm.
honestly, today I look at things quite differently. I
Mm.
think the kampong is really beautiful, no matter how it is. Yeah, and uh, and I actually think we have lost people. We've lost people who shouldn't get out of the kampong.
Mm.
Maybe I'll put it another way. The kampong should always remain with people. Yeah, you should never attempt to take the kampong out of someone.
Did you yourself live in a kampong before?
No, I have not. But
Uh,
today, I deeply value the notion of community.
mm.
I think we all need community, and we are a lot poorer without it. Yeah.
I think one of the things that was lost after the fire and after moving to HDB is, of course, the loss of this self-help, this gotong royong and sense of, being one with your neighbors and people around you, right?
Yeah, I think we got very individualistic, and our the way life was framed in Singapore is like everybody has to work very hard, be very rugged, and get ahead, that kind of thing. Uh, Nothing particularly wrong with that, but I think the process we forgot how to look out for each other, and we also downplayed the value of relationships.
Yeah,
So anyway, this is just a personal view. I don't have any study to back it up or anything like that. Yeah.
sure, sure. I think a lot of people feel the same way, whether they live in a kampong or not in the past. But I want to talk about this later on, maybe. But can I get an idea of where you came from? Like, what was your background?
Well, I live in this neighborhood. It's called Thompson Park. I used to be. I moved in when I was a child. I can remember maybe 3, 4 years old, just looking at the photographs, and yeah, it was quite a privilege then because my grandparents had a government job, so they could afford this little home. You look at the title deed, it was quite amusing because it was like less than $10,000 or something that you managed to get a home like that. And yeah, so I've stayed here and I've lived here till I was in my adults, and then I moved out, got a single flat, and eventually got married, and eventually I think when when my grandparents passed on and this home was available, the people who had control of it sold it to me by compassionate rate. So I managed to have a reasonable home to live in. I've come back now to this neighborhood, and I've come back for I can't remember several years now,
Mm.
maybe 10 years or so. Yeah, I can't remember. But yeah, about 10
Mm.
years I've now lived here. And it's not exactly kampong,
Yeah.
but people know each other. I mean, I take a lot of satisfaction going to the shop and exchanging greetings. And sometimes the greetings are not exactly polite or pleasant, but it's nice. It's nice to know that you see me, I see you, and we belong. Yeah.
How
So
did you, or when, or how did you get into social work? Was there someone who advised you, or was this something you like to do?
no, no, I was just a little older than a kid and didn't quite know what to do with my life. Uh, and after leaving my first job, I was volunteering at Ang Mo Kio Social Service Centre.
Mm.
And the reason I was volunteering there because when I had the job, I was working there. So the people there kind of got me back to help. And yeah, and I kind of got pulled out by Dr. Basu, who was
Mm.
very much in charge of that area or advisor for that area. And he kind of, yeah, he kind of referred me to this place in Bukit Ho Swee. Yeah. And my only qualifications then was I was male because there were only females working here. There was a nun, and Anne was the other one that was working with another colleague, Leela, and
Mm.
Dr. Vasu felt that maybe a guy there would help things a little since the kids were really very rough. Yeah. But it didn't make a difference like whether you're male or female, they were still very rough.
So you had not studied social work.
No, I didn't study social work. And eventually I studied a little bit of counseling, a little bit of family therapy. I learned about social work because I have friends in social work, and yeah, kind of just caught up lah, reading here and there. Yeah.
So this would have been like late 70s, and then in the early
80s,
80s you went to Bukit Ho Swee, right? Uh, what was your impression, or what was your background knowledge of Bukit Ho Swee at the time before you went there?
I I had very little knowledge. I had very little knowledge. I just went there. I was told that it's a low-income area, and that was it. And I went there and tried to do my job, which was to befriend the kids on the streets, and yeah, just kind of make sure the kids don't get into too much trouble. That was more or less the brief, because
Mm.
these were boys and girls even who were like we used to use the word boisterous, but actually they were more than boisterous. They could actually they could actually try to smash their way into the office and create a fair amount of trouble there.
Mm.
So yeah, it wasn't just boisterous. Boisterous was the nice way we wanted to describe them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been quite a culture shock, right? Because even the language that they were speaking was it was definitely not English, right?
No, it wasn't, and they forgave me because they thought I was from Japan.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so they used to call me the Dipunkia, and that was it. So yeah, and I think back then the 80s, Japan was caught the imagination of the general population. I think
Mm.
like today, how Koreans catch the yeah. So that I think the 80s or early 90s, it was all Japanese. So when kids look at you and you look a bit different, you probably look Japanese. If I went back there now, they probably think I look Korean. So,
Were the nuns still there at the time, the Franciscan nuns?
oh yes, the
Mm.
place was managed by Sister Mary
Mm.
Chua.
And where was it located at the time, the community service project?
It was at Block 44, Bill Crescent. It's not there anymore.
Mm.
At the moment, it's some exercise area or something has been upgraded. So the block is still there, but the landscape has changed tremendously.
Mm. Some of the flats are still there, though, right? Like, I mean,
All the flats are still there.
yeah,
The
yeah.
flats are still there.
Mm. I
All the
mean,
flats are still there. The shop houses on the ground floor are not anymore.
mm.
And there was a car park. That's not there as well. And so the landscaping, they really changed it quite a bit. Last time was very simple. I mean, around the blocks, there's a car park. People drive in, go up to your block. That was about it. But they got rid of the car park, and they put in a multi-story car park and stuff like that. Yeah.
Can I show you some photos? These are from Ann Lim.
Okay.
I think they probably will strike your memory.
Mm.
What was called Nazareth Centre, right?
Oh yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, the block is still there. That is not there anymore, and this slope and all's been flattened, and there the trees more or less. There's some area there. It's quite similar, but of course there's more built up like uh, common area or something like that. Yeah.
What is this premise now? Now it's a shop or something?
No, no, it's made into community space, better design
Uh,
community space or modernized community space.
yeah.
So the slope is not there, and it's been replaced by maybe a playground or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And all the children would kind of gather around it.
Last time, yeah, the slope was a great place
Hmm.
because that's where people would come and hawk their wares as well. So you get porridge or you get mee siam and you get, I don't know, but basically we could all just squat on the slope and eat, get a snack. Yeah.
Okay. So these are the flats.
Yeah, they're all still there. The flats are all still there.
Yeah. The car park. And then there's a hawker there. So hawkers were quite common in the area in those days, right?
Uh, I can recognize this place. Where is it? This is Kampongs.
It's the same place, right? Is this not is the slope?
Is that the slope? Oh, yeah, it's the slope. So, yeah, this
Yeah.
Kapang is gone.
All right.
Yeah.
And some of the women would bring out the children and
Oh,
sit
yeah.
and
I mean,
chat with one another. Here's a hawker.
yeah, it was quite lovely just to see life like that.
That's the book.
Yeah.
The Ann Lim wrote. And some of the photos of your members, your volunteers.
Yeah, that's for the volunteers. Yeah.
So how many staff were there? You were one of the staff.
Yeah, and Leela and Sister Mary. So there were four of us. Yeah.
Oh, just four. Huh?
Mm.
Would you say understaffed for what you wanted to do?
No, no, I think it was good. Um, it's a very different thing back then. One of the reasons that got me to stay was, this bunch of folks, they come every day and they are so happy. And I always, I couldn't quite understand why, because for me it was a job and it was so difficult because the kids were so rough and you're not exactly spoken to very politely and you're always trying to stop trouble from happening and all. So it was quite stressful as a young worker.
Hmm.
But we have this bunch of volunteers. They come and they're so happy. They greet the kids so well. They come and no matter how naughty the kids are, they take it in their stride. And I always wondered what was it? What was their secret? Um, and that curiosity actually got me to stay a little longer. And eventually, I stayed 40 years.
Hmm.
Got to know them and all. But
Where were the volunteers
oh,
from? Where did they come from? Were they from the university or churches?
no, they live around the area.
Ah, okay.
They live around the area, and some of them live maybe a few bus stops away, but they all know each other. Maybe they went to the same school or went to the same scout troop.
Hmm.
A lot of it was from the same scout troop. I'm not sure whether it was Tiong Bahru Secondary or another school that was around there. But yeah, that was it. Like, friend of a friend, and people come by.
Yeah. So can you tell us what was the main work of Nazareth Centre and what were these volunteers doing?
Well, the main work were literacy programs. And for this bunch of volunteers, the main work was keeping the kids socially engaged, like healthy recreation and stuff like that. So there were a lot of events, um, field days and water carnivals, youth camps and stuff like that. And kids love it, right? So they were really very much engaged, man, and always looking forward to the next activity.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, it is really community. I mean, a couple of months ago, this guy on the left, the extreme left, he was a
Right.
leader of sorts. He passed away. Um, and yeah, when I went to the wake, I mean, I met almost everybody,
Mm.
and you could see it's like lifelong friendships, right?
Yeah.
Now, they are 40, 50 years. I mean, the guy
Mm.
passed away, and we go there, and what do we talk about? We talk about the work we did,
Mm.
and yeah, how we have come together because we cared for the community.
I mean, could you like say why these literacy programs were so important, at Nazareth Centre? I mean, it was not just to teach them, right? It was to there was a social purpose to it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not
Mm.
trying to score distinctions in schools, and there's not tuition as we know it today, trying to get people to get, get high scores in school. It was really social inclusion,
Were the
really
youngs?
social
Yeah.
inclusion. I mean, you don't see it this time. I mean, like small little things, right? I mean, the kids some were really literally running around shirtless. So if they got a little singlet or a t-shirt, it meant quite a bit to be included. And this whole thing about school, it's not that they don't want to learn or they cannot learn or anything like that. I think the world was changing, and
Mm.
they just needed the opportunity to catch up, to be included as well. Yeah.
Mm.
So I think that all these programs are not about academic excellence or anything like that. It's about sending the message that regardless, all of us matter. We all belong here.
Were some of these kids like getting attracted to like gangs or older kids who were leading them and taking part in activities that were not acceptable?
It was just life as such. Uh, it's like gangs. Gangs are like, oh boy, uh, be careful of them and all that. But it was just a way of life. I mean, people got involved in gangs. Uh, Of course, everyone knew that if you were in a gang, you'll probably end up in a lot of trouble and all. But what I wanted to say is, it's not like it wasn't like something. Oh, you be careful, don't join a gang kind of thing. I mean,
Mm.
it's just in your midst, and people decide how much they want to get involved. Um, what can I say? I think the lines are very blurred whether you're in a gang or you're not in a gang.
What can I ask you about the kind of the funding, right? The community service projects. Who funded it?
For several years, it was just public funding, donations here and there. There was some grants. When I write about the history,
Mm.
the grants from Missouri, some Catholic organization, some church organization, and little grants here and there.
Mm.
Didn't really need a lot of money to get the place running, but somehow, yeah, they managed until maybe until when community chess was established.
Mm.
Then we were one of the first members, and from then on, it started. There was a little bit more financial security, but it also
Commu-
meant a very different way of
yeah.
organizing ourselves. Yeah,
Community chairs was that 83.
uh, yeah, maybe a bit later. I really cannot remember.
I can check. Give me a minute. 83.
Yeah, okay.
So that would have been just a couple of years later, right? After you
Yeah,
joined.
I started work in '82.
Yeah, right. And in the podcast was saying the Nazareth Center was really Spartan, right? It was a small room and just some tables and chairs inside.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Mm, mm,
behind those windows as well as we're standing.
I mean, do you now think, with hindsight, that more funding, more facilities would have helped?
No, I wouldn't say so. No. I I think one of the developments that was I'm not too sure if it's actually good or bad, but it's become a big industry, right? Social work.
Mm.
And once it becomes an industry, then jobs that are created have to remain because people lose their jobs, right? And that's a problem. So so once it becomes too big, then
Mm.
the whole machinery just has to keep going because keep going whether the work is meaningful or not, or it just becomes very clumsy. You can't really just change course, even when you know that what you're doing is probably not the best. So that said, I'm not sure if that's the best development.
Yeah. I've written all these points down. I'm going to come back to them in a bit. All right, this is I don't know. We initially thought that the students, these kids are trying to get in, but it seems like they're also cleaning the windows. Do you know which one it is?
Well, I don't really remember what they're doing, but they probably will be throwing some stones inside as well. This end.
Okay, okay. That's by the window. Okay, and I didn't crop most of these photos, but these are some of the activities, right?
Yeah,
This is Sister Mary.
Sister Mary.
Some of the trips outside, right? Oh, that's the Block 44, right?
Yeah, it's Block 44. It's still there.
Yeah, so this is a trip.
I suspect some of these photographs of even before my time.
Ah, okay. Well, this one is 87. So this one is
Yeah, that's quite modern.
later. Yeah, some could have been earlier. Because the project was started in 69.
69 years, that's right.
Do you think that what was happening in terms of the kids in Bukit Ho Swee struggling to be included to find their place in society had something to do with the fire?
What's the connection? I mean, something to do with the fire?
In terms of their parents, the parents' struggles kind of, manifest or continues with their kids.
I think it's just a low-income area, and that was life. I mean, that everyone was struggling somewhat, and I mean, there was a whole decade that I wasn't around, right, in the 70s, where the project started in the 60s, then the 70s, and maybe the families that were from the fire, I mean, their behaviors would have been more obvious in the 70s rather than the 80s. Yeah. No, I'm sorry, I cannot comment on that.
So you wouldn't have much opportunity to talk to the parents, right? It was mostly dealing with the kids.
Uh, no, I don't. I mean, of course, I engage the parents, but more for permission to take out their kids. And I mean, I was a very young worker. I was in my 20s, early 20s. I
Right.
wouldn't have known what conversation to carry on with many of these parents. I was also just learning the language.
So you learn Hokkien?
Yes, I learned Hokkien there. Yeah.
So were the parents quite happy for you to take them out?
Yeah, I guess so. they felt safe that the child wasn't was someone looking out for their child. Uh, there was some good branding, you have Sister Mary there and missionary, and I think a lot of the parents were like, even they don't believe in the religion, they feel safe that somebody religious is looking out for their kids.
What was the biggest obstacles that you encountered? The biggest difficulties you had while you were there.
Yeah, I think strangely it was internal, strangely. I mean, Sister Mary and whatever, we all get along very well now. But I was a young person, and when I was tasked to look after the kids, I tended to, more likely I advocate for them quite a bit. And it wasn't clear after a while for my colleagues whose side I was on. It was quite difficult. I think I was young, and there was an expectation that there was a parental role. But at the same time, I could maybe understand a little bit or connect a bit more with the kids, why they were so rowdy or whatever it was. And yeah, so I guess the challenge was, maybe even within my team. I mean, what can we agree on in terms of managing those kids? Yeah. So
Kind of
yeah.
explain how you would have done it if you could do it your own way.
I mean, I did it the way I knew how. I'm really not sure. I think there was this joke that I was probably the deviant one as well. That's why. Yeah. Other than that, the challenges they came from the kids. Yeah, the lack of cooperation, the cursing, the stuff like that. Lack of cooperation, and not just toward me, but toward my colleagues, and that created a problem. Yeah.
I mean, as far as the kids are concerned, do you think the project has been a success?
Yes, I would say so. I would say that it was very important work. Um, I would say that it was a success because the friendships that were cultivated then were very important in terms of giving people a sense of place, a sense of belonging. If you use that as a metric, of course, if you use a different metric like, oh, did they all pass? Did they all go to school? Or did they all not go and get in trouble with the law? Then no. I mean, if you use those type of metrics, I think almost everyone got in trouble with the law. I remember after 10 years or so, I was terribly discouraged because I worked so hard, overnight, and all the things you do, and every kid that I knew was in trouble of some sort. I'm thinking, what's I doing here? I mean, back then, I mean, if it's my society funders or my supervisors would have expected uh, the work to be able to turn these kids around, I I don't think that's a realistic objective or goal. I think what we did in terms of living our lives together with them and believing in whoever they were and what they were worth, and that was a big success. I mean, today I bump to them on the street. I mean, incidentally at the interchange or wherever, and it's very cordial and it's nice, It's like we can laugh about, or rather, we value the times that we had together. I mean, we have such different lives. They're probably struggling or they have struggled. I've gone on to make it a career, and but the connection is not something
Yeah.
that has been lost. And for that, I think that is success. I think this is a type of success that nobody looks at these days because we become so instrumental. You say, oh, if I put in so much funds, these are the results I want to get. And but no, lah, I don't think that's exactly a very realistic way of looking at the work.
Yeah, I mean, the KPI should be how many of them are your friends, right?
uh, yeah. And no, I think it was a success because if you look back now and you ask them, everyone will remember that time of their life.
At some point, the name changed to Beyond Social Services, right? When was that?
Well, actually, Bukit Ho Swee Social Community Service Project changed to Bukit Ho Swee Social Service Centre in 1987.
Mm.
Back then, I guess, social service center was the thing, because there was Ang Mo Kio Social Service Center, and Dr. Basu, who advised on both organizations, kind of took the lead and gotten us to be named as a social service center. And we became Beyond when at the turn, I think 2001 or something,
Mm.
we had a new board and the guy came in, actually the new chair or the potential chair, he was a bit more, how shall I say, forward thinking, more visionary. He was saying, no, this cannot be a locality thing and has to be something else. Yeah, and so he initiated it and he had contacts with BTS. And BTS for SIE came by. And yeah, they sent someone to kind of shadow me for a few days or something. Had long conversations and finally came up with the name.
Was Beyond the only kind of social service center that was not based on the place, the name?
No, no.
Uh,
I think back then also it's not that. I think the chair that time, Mr. Stanley Tan, I think
mm.
he of course didn't see it as just Bukit Ho Swee. He saw the work beyond Bukit Ho Swee. So
Yeah.
that was one of the reasons. Uh, he wanted a more generic name and not the locality-based name.
Mm.
That was one reason. But the other reason, I mean, the other reason was at that point in time, I think the way I was looking at social work and the ill effects of social work and the unintended ill effects, and my team and I were thinking about what could social work look like, that's different from the lack of success or whatever we have been trying to do. So there were a lot of conversations back then. So I think it was quite coincidentally that when the initial name was proposed to us, it was actually Beyond Social Service Center. It didn't make any sense to me. And so I told them, I said, give me a couple of hours and drove off somewhere and started thinking about it and counter proposed Beyond Social Services because that was what we actually believe in at that point in time. We were really trying to take people away from social services. We began at that point. We began to see social services being a little bit stigmatizing, if I may say. I mean, if you're caught in social services, your your life story written in the files of the establishment. So with that kind of thinking, we thought, hey, maybe this is really what we need to do.
That's very interesting. So, were there things that you tried to do to destigmatize it or to make it?
Yeah,
Mm.
I think we kind of decided on the name. Uh, the identity strengthened around the name. Because what does beyond social services actually mean? It got us thinking, right? So then the name actually entered our consciousness and all our discussions. And then when we wanted to do something, we asked, is it beyond social services? No, and then then it just got us thinking how we should be organizing the work and all that. And really, was actually, we didn't know it then, but it was a pivot into community work again, because you don't provide services. You actually want people in the community to genuinely care for each other. And the care is not provided by professionals like us. Professionals like us, we get a salary, then we get a pay increment. We're supposed to care more. Is that, it's like, you can't, it doesn't add up that way. People care because they genuinely have strong bonds with each other and they have obligation and commitment to each other. I can't say that for people like us who are just there because we have a job.
I mean, in other countries, this would have been called like community-based work, right?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But there are many interpretations of that. I mean, all these names and all, I mean, they're very rough guideposts, signposts, When you're actually there, you go see what people are doing, know what they call themselves.